This is 3ABN Now with John and Rosemary Malkovich.
Welcome to the program today. We're really glad you've joined us because we're going to talk to someone that we hear from but we don't hear about.
Yeah, and I like that idea because, you know, to hear about someone in particular is very interesting.
Yeah, especially when, you know, they've appeared on 3ABN for around 30 years. And we are used to having them talk about their work, but not about their journey. So today we're going to do that with Dr. Hans Diehl. Welcome, Hans. How are you?
I'm feeling great, thank you.
It's good to have you here. Hans is the founder of CHIP, and many of you who have watched 3ABN for a while will know about CHIP, Complete Health Improvement Program. And that was his baby. And we're going to learn about the man who discovered CHIP, that God inspired with CHIP.
I'm thinking too, you said it was his baby. So, you know, babies grow up and sometimes they grow into monsters.
Yes.
So we got to hear how it's growing up.
Yes, that's right.
And you're going to talk to us about the doors that God opened for you in your life. So that'll be really exciting.
Well, Hans has chosen a text from the Bible, and I like this one. And it's found in Jeremiah 29:11, and it goes like this, if you want to read your Bible. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Now, you have a paraphrase version of that. Maybe you can mention what it says there, but why do you find this text of great interest to you, Hans?
Well, it gives you a clear message that God is in charge and He actually directs the events in your life. And the future is secure, it takes care of the anxieties, you feel there's an anchor in your life, and you feel you are on God's turf.
It's a good place to be, by the way, isn't it? And I'd encourage anyone out there that's not given much thought about God to remember that He has an expected end for you if you take time to read the Bible and discover the great plan of salvation that was put in place from the beginning of the creation of this world for you and I, that we can live throughout eternity in perfect health too. Hans, is that right?
That's right, that's right.
Do you know, there's something I've heard Shelley Quinn say, and it reminds me of what you're saying about this text. There is happiness and there is joy. Happiness is dependent on our surroundings, on the circumstances, on what is happening in our lives. But joy is inside. You can have joy even during difficult circumstances. God wants to give us joy because we can put our trust in Him.
Yes.
Through the bad times and the good times, we can say, well, Lord, you've got a plan. And as another friend of ours says, you don't say, why me? You say, what, Lord? What am I having to learn through this? What are you trying to teach me? Where are you trying to take me? And if you look at it that way, you can have joy, even if you don't have happiness as such.
Well, that's probably true in my case in particular. When you think about this, I was born after World War II, humble family. We had nothing. We were 6 children.
6 in your family?
Yeah. And I was the oldest one. And we basically were dependent on care parcels from America. It was an impossible situation. And then, when I'm about 13, 14 years of age, every Wednesday we have a baker coming to our house to bring us Graham bread.
That's good bread.
It's very good bread.
Yeah.
It's excellent bread.
Yeah.
And we kids just loved their bread. And he would come every Wednesday night. As a matter of fact, he was a very engaging person with my father in particular. And so he actually made our home the last stop on his journey so he could talk longer.
That's smart.
What happened then actually is that when you're 13, 14 years of age, you're very curious what these people are talking about. This baker was talking about Daniel. I mean, Daniel. I mean, everybody knows everything about Daniel. I mean, I was a Lutheran. My parents were Lutherans. I mean, we know all the story about Daniel in the lion's den, all these kind of things. But he talked about Daniel. He talked about empires, civilizations emerging. He talked about it was a prophetic book. Never heard of such a thing. And I kind of wondered, who is this man? And then the next week he comes, he has another topic. He talks to my father about Jesus was always there. He is a creator God. I said, that's not right. I mean, Jesus came.
He was born a baby.
He was born a baby. How does this all match up? And then I thought to myself, there's something wrong here. But then he gave me Bible verses. Through him, everything is made that has been made. And I looked it up. It's there. And it had a profound effect on my life, even as I was only 13, 14 years of age, because if Jesus is my creator, and he also lays down his life for me, that means that the creator dies for his creatures. That's a profound concept, isn't it?
My word, it is.
And so this baker enlarged my kind of thinking of God, and before too long, he kind of brought in a young minister. He said, maybe you want to study the Bible.
Learn a bit more.
Learn a bit more. And so I had 52 Bible studies over the next 52 weeks. And in the end, the first door opens up. I have a new picture of God, and I joined the Adventist Church.
52 studies. He studied a lot with you.
Marvelous.
Were you a slow learner?
There are lots of subjects in God's Word, and they really take time to really understand them. And that's why you were very fortunate that someone came along and showed you.
And he was being thorough.
I mean, it was like a sparkling diamond with many, many facets. I didn't know these things were all in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's all there to provide me with an understanding of how to live my life. So, I mean, I was young, and so then, of course, I would go to my Lutheran pastor then, because on Thursdays I had my special class to be a Lutheran. And so then he asked the question, anybody has any questions? Oh, yes, I did. I had some questions about Jesus, about Daniel, about Sabbath.
About life?
About
Death?
life. And it was very obvious that maybe the Adventist pastor had some good answers that appealed to me. And so that's what happened. The baker probably brought us more than just Graham bread.
Yes, you didn't know what the baker was cooking up.
He was bringing the bread of life really to us as a family.
The manna.
Yeah, the manna. Yeah.
It's interesting that you were willing to be open to that information, because I see ourselves as people that are growing up as a product of what we're taught. And so the Bible is not really included in our teachings today. But if you open yourself up to the Word of God, you'll discover more than just a book of good information. It's a way of life.
And as you said, there are so many facets to this diamond. The more you read the Bible, the more you find. And the more you are able to put the pieces of the jigsaw together on all different topics, you find chains. And
that is so true. As a matter of fact, we kind of live life in the forward mode. We're always looking to the future. But you really begin to, at least I did, I began to understand my life as I was looking back. It's an amazing story as you see how God apparently was there. He was always there, even though at the time I may have not understood it.
Do you know there was a really good illustration that we heard not too long ago by Dr. Stefanovic. And he was telling us, and his wife were illustrating to our prayer meeting group, the Hebrew way of looking at life. Our way, the Western way, is you look to the future and you walk to the future, and the past is behind. But he said the Hebrew way of looking at life was that you are facing the past.
Mm.
And God is in front of you, facing you. And then you walk backwards to the future with God looking the direction of the future. And so you can see where God has led you. You keep an eye on his face, and you can see from his face what is coming up. But God is the one who is guiding you as you look back to see where he has led you in the past.
You know, it's very, very interesting. As I became an Adventist, I learned more about the world at large. I heard about missionaries of the Adventist Church going to New Guinea, to cannibals, and to take mission boats to the Amazon and helping Indians along that. I mean, it was quite an exciting journey for a young man. And so I had immediately a very warm feelings towards the young people there. And then my best friends that I had just sort of become friends with, they left for Canada.
Oh.
I thought to myself, Lord. And then they would write to me and they said, Hans, you got to come to Canada. It's too tight, it's too narrow, it's too small of a country, Germany. You got to come to Canada. That's the giant of tomorrow. Come and join us. So I was now 15 years of age. I entered soon thereafter a special training program as a young businessman, executive with a large corporation. Spent my 3 years there. And then they kept on writing, come to Canada. Now, I was working for a company that was very well known in Germany, in Europe, as a company that was known for making household items like blenders and coffee grinders and these kind of things. And when I finished my 3-year training program, they invited me to join them in the export department and to take care of Canada.
How about that?
We want you to take care of the
That's
Canadian
amazing.
market.
That's
we want you to
amazing.
sell coffee grinders.
Okay.
Coffee grinders.
I think you'd make a good salesman, actually.
I don't know. So then my friend said, why
I
don't
think
you...
he is.
My friend said, why don't you come to Montreal, because that's where your branch office is, isn't it? I said, yeah, we live in Montreal. Come and join us there. Why don't you work for the company directly there? So I make an inquiry, and they take me on, and they said, your job is to change the drinking habits of the Canadians. We want you to introduce them to the real aroma of coffee. We want you to use our coffee grinders to freshly ground beans.
And you're an Adventist.
Well, yeah. And Adventists usually don't push or recommend coffee, right?
Yep.
Or caffeine. And so, yeah, so that was my task, and I was really excited about this. And then I go to church, and they said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to change the Canadian habits of how to drink coffee with coffee grinders. I said, you are? And then all of a sudden it hit me, yeah, there was a disconnect there somehow, right, in terms of the values that sort of are espoused in the biblical system there. Yeah. That was kind of a... and then, you see, what happened next is that this discovery took place. I learned something about upscale social mobility.
Oh, yes.
Upscale social mobility. I recognized that in Canada, in America, Australia, you can become anything you want to become if you're willing to pay the price.
And that's true, by the way.
Yeah. And so I began to aim high, and I said, okay, I can become anything I can become. In Germany at that time, it was in such a way that if your father was a plumber, you become a plumber. If your father was a university professor, you probably move in that direction. So what am I going to do? I'm going to aim high. It doesn't matter what my father is, it doesn't matter what my family is. I can do what I want to do, right? I can become.
Yes.
And so I aim high. I can become a teacher. I can become a nurse. I can become a physician. You know, these were sort of the things that you heard about. So I was aiming high, but then I had no money. And you know, when you have to go to school, you have to go back to the university, medical school, It's expensive. I have no resources coming from my parents. And then I found the answer. I found the answer in an ad looking for people working in the mines in the frozen north of Canada. I was ready to go regardless because I was willing to pay the price.
Mm-hmm.
So I did.
To make the money.
To make the money. I didn't know that it was really the coldest spot in Canada, 72 minus with the wind chill factor. It was tough. But it didn't matter because I had a goal, I had a dream, I was going to do it.
Mm.
So you worked in the mine. What sort of mines were there?
I worked in a mine. It was way up the Canadian bush. There were no residences, there were no towns around. It was just in the bush. And people would come there and work very hard, send their money home, and that's exactly what I was going to do. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to save my money, and I was going to finish my university training, and I'm going to be a doctor.
Mm.
So you were going to go from selling coffee machines to being a miner to try to be a physician.
I changed from selling coffee grinders to selling the milk of human kindness, to be of service.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt the claims of God on my life.
Mm.
I didn't want to leave a legend behind. He changed
the drinking habits of Canada.
Canadians. I wanted to do something that perhaps was helping others.
Mm.
And so I'm in the mine. I also thought that would also teach me how to learn my English, a little bit better.
Mm.
I could speak commercial English, but I didn't know some of the verbiage in general. And so I come to the mine and I begin to realize that they speak a different language there.
Yeah, one you don't necessarily want to emulate.
I know. I mean, they were masters in profanities. I mean, I didn't understand at the time. I heard these words. I look up in my German dictionary.
That don't exist.
I cannot find those words. I go to my foreman and I said, "Sir, can you help me?" He said, "Don't ask me." So I knew this was not the thing to do. But these miners, they're hardworking people there. And there's very little entertainment there out in the bush. So I became the butt of many jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Working in the warehouse, they would send me requisition forms and they'd say, "We need 12 left-handed screwdrivers." 12 left-handed screwdrivers? I look all over the mines. I look at every shelf, and I cannot find any left-handed screwdrivers. And my boss says, "You better look better to find this. We've got to have them." And then the next requisition comes. "We need 5 gallons of blue steam." No, I mean, I've never heard these things before. So I look for blue steam everywhere in the warehouse. I can't find it. And then they send a requisition for 90-gallon drum of soap stretcher. Now you figure that one out.
Soap stretcher?
Soap stretcher. I look up soap, yeah, it's in the dictionary. I look up stretcher, it's in the dictionary. Soap stretcher, I don't know. I look for 2 days, for 3 days, for 4 days. I turn every drum around, I clean every drum. There's benzene, there's naphtha gas, there's diesel, no soap stretcher. And then my foreman says, "You got to find it because this is an essential item for running the mine."
So cruel. You were being paid to waste your time.
Well, they had fun, didn't they, Hans?
And the next thing I know, I'm being called in to the general manager of the mine, Dr. McEwen. He calls me in. He said, "Young man, I understand you have spent 6 days looking for soap stretcher on company time and you haven't found anything." And I know my career is coming to an end. My making money in the mine is not going to happen. Medical school, who knows what happens next? And he says to me, "You couldn't find it, did you?" I said, "No." "And you look hard?" I said, "Sir, 6 days." He looks at me and he said, "This is sort of like a skyhook."
Yes.
Skyhook, what's a skyhook? And then he starts kind of smiling at me and he says, "Don't you get it? These are hardworking miners. They have no fun around here. And you're just providing the entertainment because they know you don't understand English as well, so they're just pulling your leg." And I said, "What do you mean pulling my leg? Who's pulling my leg?" I'd never heard that expression before, you see. It was a totally new experience.
Yeah.
But God knew what he was doing. And the the president of the company, the general manager said to me, just remember something. They're not laughing at you. They're laughing with you. And that made all the difference. Yeah, it was hard to adapt to the English language, to these common expressions.
And the English sense of humour?
Well, yeah, some of that is there too. So it was a very, very interesting discovery. And you see, this is what happened then. This upscale social mobility really kept me on this special track. And the next thing I knew, I go to the university. I meet a beautiful, extraordinarily beautiful lady. External, it's all there. But the real beauty is inside. Accomplished musician. We have 2 years of courtship, and she becomes my bride. I'm just now celebrating 50 years. It has been a wonderful journey. And then we moved to Loma Linda in Southern California because now I'm getting into medical school.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you have any photos of you and Lily?
We do.
Okay. Well, do you have any to show us?
We have lots of them. I mean,
But
we
you
have,
just don't have them with you.
maybe you can find them on our website.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suggest people have a look.
Okay. Very good. So, so now we are in Loma Linda.
And you're studying medicine?
I am finishing my pre-med. I'm waiting for getting to medical school to sell the milk of human kindness.
Can I just ask you a question? Because the American system is very different to what we do in Australia with somebody who's studying medicine. From here, people can go straight from the end of high school. If they've applied for medicine, if they get the grades, they go straight into studying medicine at university. And after 6 years, they can then go into their internship. What is the system in America with, this pre-med, there's all these pre-studies that are done. I presume you do sciences and things and preparation to see if you make the grade?
Yeah, you do your bachelor's degree, 4 years, and you take particular courses that are going to be important for studying medicine or the healthcare professions. And so then, depending on your accomplishments and achievements, you then compete for entry into medical school, which is 4 years. So that's where I'm at. I'm in Loma Linda. I'm waiting to get into medical school. And then the dean of the School of Public Health of the university calls me and says, Hans, I understand that you were into marketing. You were into business in Germany. As a matter of fact, I heard that you were going to change the drinking habits of Canadians with regard to coffee.
So he heard all this, did he?
Yes, I didn't know where he got all the information, but he said, I'm going to Los Angeles in a couple of days. Would you like to come with me? I'd like to talk to you, and I want you to take a look what I do there.
Is this the dean?
That's the dean. Yeah, the dean. Man with 3 doctoral degrees behind his name, very erudite man. He says, I'm going to have 1,000 people there in a special series on health, and I'm going to talk about ecology. Would you like to come and take a look what I do? I go, I see, I'm impressed, 1,000 people. On the way home, he says to me, you know, Hans, we doctors, we physicians, we usually work one-on-one, one person at a time, usually. But the diseases of tomorrow are diseases that are lifestyle related. They relate to what people do. What do they eat? What do they drink? Do they smoke? Do they get enough rest? These are the kind of causes that coalesce to create these modern killer diseases, which take 70% of all the deaths in our society. Our university last year started a brand new program called the Doctorate in Health Science, where we take the best of medicine and the best of public health, and we become motivators and educators. We inspire people to do things that they know sort of they should do, but we don't do it. Would you like to take a look at this? Because you could reach 500 people, 50 people, maybe 5 people. You can reach 10,000 people with those skills that you have. Are you interested? Well, I have to talk to Lily first, right? My wife.
So this is going to the university and studying medicine,
Loma Linda University.
but doing it in a specific stream?
No.
Or just you're studying medicine, but you're going to...
There are many different schools within the university that offer medicine, dentistry, public health, and so on.
All right.
And so this is now the School of Public Health. I come home to Lily and I said, by the way, the dean talked to me. He thought that maybe I should take a look at broadening my concept and to be more futuristic of what we will need in the next few years in terms of these modern killer diseases like heart disease and diabetes and hypertension. And he thinks that you can turn these diseases around by changing their cause, which is our lifestyle. And she says to me, do you think you can find a job in this new kind of a field?
That's a good question.
I mean, who's going to take care of me, right?
It's a new field.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Will there be a,
not really here yet.
correct, will there be a job? So we trust. We trust. God has led so far, He will take care of us. I have it all planned out for you, He says in the Bible text there. You will have a good ending, you will have a future, it's all yours. And so I enroll in the program. I become, after 4 years, a doctor of health science. I'm hired by the university. I receive a phone call, and on the other end is a man that runs a very successful residential center, a clinic where people come from all over the world. These people have heart disease, and they said, we've been to the best centers, but we take more and more medication, more and more surgery, but it doesn't really affect the disease. The diabetics are there, we take more medication, more insulin, it doesn't affect the disease. We want to turn this thing off. And this man says, you have to look at the causes. Look at our new modern lifestyle. Stressed out, we grab food as it comes around. We no longer eat food, we eat industrialized products. We no longer eat potatoes, we eat potato chips. We no longer eat corn, we eat corn chips. We no longer eat beans, we eat burgers. We no longer drink water, we drink soda pop. I mean, and so it was an incredible experience to see people that are living there for 30 days on a very simple diet of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and, beans and some simple foods, and to sort of keep the animal products and the sugar and the salt at a minimum, if at all there. So this is a very, very drastic change from the American diet, which changed dramatically in the 1970s. And within 3 to 4 days, I see, as I observe some of these patients, the physicians at the clinic has to reduce the amount of insulin in diabetics that have been using that for 20 years.
In 3 or 4 days?
In 3 or 4 days. I see patients with angina pain, chest pain, heart disease. And after 3, 4 weeks, 2 out of 3 of these patients say,
It's gone.
It's gone. Or it certainly is minimal. I can climb the stairs without having the chest pain. I mean, I see people with high blood pressure. 85% of these people leave the center in 30 days without blood pressure medication, which has its own side effects. And then he offers me a job. He said, would you like to take this job? I go home and tell Lily. Lily says, you have a job at the university for life. Unless you do something foolish.
And that seems like a pretty good deal.
And this one is sort of an outlier. It's some kind of an outfit that is making all kinds of claims. We can reverse heart disease, we can reverse diabetes. Doesn't sound quite right. Are you really sure? We pray about it. I take
That's
the
the
job.
only thing you can do, isn't it?
I take the job, and it opens my eyes to a world I'd never seen before. The power of food as medicine, allowing the body to heal itself, bringing cholesterol levels down 20%, bringing blood pressures down, the fog begins to lift, people have clearer minds, the depression subsides. An incredible journey. But remember I said to you, I come from a humble home. We had nothing in Germany after World War II. And I see that here you have people that are usually very affluent.
Yes.
I mean, you can go to the center today and you spend $20,000 for 4 weeks. I mean, it's for a couple, but it still is $20,000. You have to leave your job behind. And what are these people going to do once the 30-day program is over? Right? Same fridge, same friends, same foods.
Same house, same environment.
Same church potlucks. And it's that time that I begin to think, I need to take it into the arena where everybody has access to this information. So I leave, take some fellowship for the government on epidemiology, and ultimately I get a phone call from a small town in Canada, and a physician friend of mine calls me and says, Hans, can you come up here and give a lecture on health? I said, what do you want to accomplish? Well, he said, I want to have a healthier town. I said, you don't get a healthier town with one lecture. Well, what do you do? He said. Well, I said, you have to change the habits of people. You need 30 days, right? I learned that in that center. And you have to do it every day. Well, he said, how do you teach new habits to people? I see them once every 3 months. How can you do it? I said, you can't.
Not that way.
So I said, you have to do it every day. And he looks at me through the phone. He said, so you're putting your friendship on the line with me? You're not coming? You're not giving me the courtesy of giving that lecture?
Oh, that's a bit rough.
He said, I've given it for the last 3 years, and everybody knows what I've talked about. It's always the same lecture. I don't have anything new. I said, what do you talk about? He said, I talked about how to postpone your funeral. That was pretty clever, wasn't it? How to postpone your funeral, how to live a longer, healthier life. I said, look, I have 2 kids. I have Lily at home. I don't think I can come. So he said, so you think it takes 30 days? 30 days. Are you coming for 30 days? Since you don't want to come for one lecture? To change the habits of the people here? To make this a healthier town? Creston, town 4,000 people. 6 months later, I am there in Creston, 4,000 people. 400 people signed up for a 16-lecture series covering 40 hours of educational time. Lily said, you have to do what you need to do. Go. I'm behind you. I take care of the kids. Go up there. I spent 2-3 months up there. And at the end of the program, the results are very close to what we had in the residential clinic. But it wasn't $20,000 for a couple.
And it wasn't residential.
And it wasn't residential. And the people now have a support structure. They don't have to go back home to their homes and are isolated again, but they have now a subculture that promotes health.
But they're already also in their homes.
Yes.
So they're making the changes in their environment.
Correct. And they're having a support group now. There are 400 people, town of 4,000, and they help each other. How did you get your husband to shift from whole milk and cream to maybe a drink that doesn't have so much fat in it? How did you do that? And people begin to talk about this. How did you get your husband to cut back on his meat and the sausages that he loves? How come you got him to really settle for cutting back on the cholesterol foods? How did you do this?
How did you get your kids to start putting the meat aside?
Teenagers, right?
That can be harder.
And
so
we began to work on these kind of things, and we began to realize I have to go to the stores. I have to change the food supply there. I have to go to the restaurants. We had restaurants that would develop now special healthy menus, and the restaurants loved us because we would bring all these people, 400 people, to the restaurant. I mean,
why
I was a
wouldn't you
favorite
change?
person. I was a favorite person for the restaurants there. So this is what we did. So it was really an eye-opener for me that you can actually transfer a residential program, which is largely for those people that can afford it, to the general population.
That's right, ordinary person.
I was feeling so grateful.
So what did your friend think?
He was really, really excited, and we began to think of what can we do to do the research to document what we have accomplished here, because without data, nobody would believe you that you can reverse heart disease. You can open up the arteries again. The cholesterol will drop down without medication. You mean you don't need the medication for the high blood pressure? I mean, your arthritis begins to improve. You can open up the lids again with your hands.
Yeah.
So we need research. And so then, of course, the next thing that happened is that I had a gentleman call me up at my house a few months later, and he said, I am from Bangalore, India. I've traveled the world with my cardiology team. I had bypass surgery. It clogged up again because nobody told me I had to make some lifestyle changes. We traveled to Japan, to Germany. We did all the research in all these countries, what I could do to take care of my heart. Now that it was clogged up again, the arteries. And then we ended up in a place called a special residential clinic. We were so impressed. We talked to the man. He was an engineer. He talked about the causes and the effects. And if you want to have better effects, you have to change the causes. Different viewpoint than medicine.
Yeah.
In medicine, when it comes to these chronic diseases, we kind of patch up the symptoms.
It gives them something to take.
Yeah.
People are more open to just taking a pill or a medicine or something because it's easy.
But people don't know that while we are very successful with these medications in trying to take care of an infectious disease, when it comes to these chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes, we take these drugs for the rest of our lives until we die because we don't cure the disease. But the engineering model is, if the cause is taken care of, you probably have better outcomes.
That's right.
And so this man comes to me from India and he says, we were told to see you because he said that you worked for him as his right-hand man. And he said, can you come and help us in Bangalore, in India?
That's interesting.
Well, he said, well, Lily, you know, when I went to Canada, can I go to India?
So you've literally gone, God's opened one door, it's gone to another door, and it continues.
Yeah, and you know, when we finished our program in Creston in British Columbia, it spread to the neighboring city, and we had 1,500 people coming to the health series, which was 16 evenings for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, these people made a commitment. People want health today, but they want good answers. And then it spread to the next city, and there were 2 series in a row, 4,000 people. It went to Ottawa, to the capital of Canada, because the politicians wanted to know, can you really do something about these chronic diseases? I mean, it was fabulous. And now it's India.
Costs it would save them.
And now it's India, right? So I'm asking him, I said, so how many people do you think you could get together to work, to come into it? We call it the CHIP program, right? The Complete Health Improvement Program. It's about a program that's 30 days. We can also extend it to 8 or 10 weeks. We do blood tests before, blood tests afterwards. We measure everything before, we measure everything afterwards, so people can see for themselves. It's not just I'm feeling better. No. What happened to the cholesterol? What happened to your blood pressure? What happened to your angina pain? Yeah, and then he said, well, I probably could get 1,000 people. And I said, sir, how would you get 1,000 people? I said, do you have a Rotary Club? Because these are business people, right? I wanted to reach the upper part of society, the leaders. I said, do you have a Rotary Club? He said, yeah. Can we get in there? He said, yeah. I said, how many Rotary Clubs do you have? 52. 52? I said, how can we get into the Rotary Clubs? Oh, he said, you don't know, do you? I'm the governor of Rotary of all of India. When I tell the clubs I'm coming, it's at 8 o'clock in the morning, at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 12 o'clock. You can speak 3, 4, 5 times a day if you want to.
Wow.
In different
Then
places.
it's just introduction. Then I said, I need to have a hospital. I need to have some laboratory equipment. If we have 1,000 people, we have to run them through in one morning. I have to have the results the next day. I need automatic analyzers. Well, he said, you may not know this, but we run the largest privately owned hospital in Bangalore. And we just installed a brand new Kodak automated analyzer system. And we have a guy that just came back from America that was trained a PhD in how to run it. Would you be interested in working with us? I said, sir, I need more than that. I need to have some nurses to help me to take the blood pressures. Where do I get some nurses? He said, maybe you don't know this, but we run the largest privately owned medical school in India.
Nurses training.
We have lots of nurses. We have also dietitians. Do you need someone to write the cookbook for you? Yes, sir, yes. But then it has to be also printed. Well, he said, you may not know this, but we run the largest newspaper in Bangalore. We have web presses that can print this in one day. How many books do you want?
What doesn't he do?
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, but what doesn't this man in India do?
Exactly. I mean, I'm sitting there, totally speechless, and I know that somehow someone's looking out for me.
Like, we don't call that coincidence. It's divine providence. When God goes before you, He makes the way. We can testify to that. If we just do what He asks us to do, the blessing is on the go, Hans. Until you make that decision, you stay stationary. But if you give it to God, He makes the way.
We did.
So
We gave it to
what
God.
happened in India?
India, fabulous success. 1,500 people, the affluent. Most of these people came with special tattoos on their chest. They wore their shirts wide open like this. It was a status symbol. They said, we are millionaires in rupees because it cost us that much money to get that bypass done. They showed up.
Okay.
They showed off their scars, and they said, the coronary artery grafted vessels are closed again with cholesterol and fats and calcium, because nobody had told us we had to stop smoking, do something about alcohol, do something about the foods that we eat.
Do something about the high-fat diet because
Yeah.
of all the fried food.
Ghee. They call it ghee.
You have been in that part of the world.
Yes.
Ghee, that's a very saturated fat. And saturated fats cause the liver to make extra cholesterol. The cholesterol gets into the blood. Once in the blood, it gets into the arteries, and they become narrowed down like this. So that affects the arteries to the brain, to the ear, to the eye, to the heart, to the kidneys, to the legs, to the male sex organ. Impotence. It's all interrelated. This is one basic disease that has to do with our lifestyle, the causes and the effects. That's what I learned from this engineer, looking at medical issues. So this man was really, really excited. He followed through exactly with everything. He brought us back 3-4 years later. They're still running the program 25 some years later. Even today, they have special monthly sessions. It has become a new center of learning, continuing education learning. And it was such a joy to be chosen to have an opportunity to sell the milk of human kindness.
To help other people.
And the Minister of Health came to the graduation exercises. He had just retired, and he addressed the audience there, 3,000 people, and he said, isn't it amazing that we have an American coming to us, to taking us back to our Hindu religion in terms of the diet that we were supposed to have.
Vegetarian.
Vegetarian, low-fat, plant-based, not all these junk foods. And I really felt that the message that somehow was entrusted to me not only reached out to American people, but also to Indian people, to Canadian people, to Australian people. And of course, then the next thing that happened is, my wife comes to me and she says, when I come back, I come back and she says, I need to really talk to you. You know what that means, right?
You're in trouble.
I really have to talk to you. We have to have a serious talk. And then she says, I'm a lonesome lover. The children are lonesome for a dad. You go all over the world, and what about us? I mean, you have written, you have sent, you have made phone calls. You're a very caring man, but
Helping people, but
it's not enough. And it's like a stab, somebody stabs my heart. It's a girl I love. I deeply love her. Painful.
mm-hmm.
And then the phone rings, Michigan, a hospital calls, and they said, we want you to come to our hospital and make this the healthiest town. We will have 1,000 people there. Can you come? And you name the price. I said, Lily, the ship is coming in. Because it was, for me, it was a ministry. It was, I didn't do this for money. I did it for, I wanted to sell the milk of human kindness because I felt the claims of God on my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I said, Lily, one more, unlimited budget.
One
Things that
more,
you've been-
just one more.
All you've been hoping for, it's not happening. Okay. I'm in Michigan, 300 people there for the first program. Second program, 300 people there, and something happens. You know, in the old days we used to have yellow pages?
Yep.
Where you find out services that are being offered.
Yes.
I look under videography, who makes videos, who makes films, and I find a name there, a company. I call them up and I say, my name is Hans Diehl. I'm looking for someone to film a series that I'm going to be doing at the hospital. I said, are you the Dr. Diehl that we read in the papers? Well, yeah. We'd like to talk to you. We'd like to do something for you. What do you need us to do? How many cameras do you need? I said, I don't know. I had no idea. Or do you need 1 camera, 2 cameras, 3 cameras, 4 cameras? I didn't know. So I explained to them, well, you probably need at least 3 cameras. And is there going to be a post-production there? I don't know what that means. I didn't know. I said, you tell me what I need to do. I just want someone to look over my shoulder and film me, and we'll put it on film, and then I can make these films available to facilitators that I'm going to train, and then these people can do it in different areas of the world, and I can be at home and be a loving husband and a father.
And still helping people.
And still helping people. So the next morning I called them back because I called Lily and she said, shouldn't you get 3 bids? I said, yeah, you're right. That's what business people do, right? What happened? So I called them back and said, why should I really work with you? Help me to understand. And the man said, well, I'm glad you called because we wanted to tell you that we have further reduced our cost, our price for you. But I said, I still don't understand. Why should I be working with you? What are your qualifications? And they said, well, we are the official videographer of Bob Hope.
Oh, that's a pretty good
reference.
reference, yeah.
That's not a good reference. That's the best reference in the world because he was the top humorist for the American government around the world. Bob Hope was it. Mm-hmm. We are taking care of Bob Hope. We exclusively film him. Do you have any more questions? And you see, God provided the films.
And you just got that out of the yellow pages.
Out of the yellow pages. And there's one more step. You know, Lily's excited. Now we have a formula. But how can I be sure that these films produce the same results that I have when I do it live? You have to have a study. You have to do a controlled experiment. So the phone rings. This time it's a city near Chicago. And a hospital says, we would like you to come. We have heard what you have done in Michigan. Can you come to Illinois? Can you come to our city here in Rockford? And we will have unlimited funds available for you to do this. I said, Lily, I'm on my knees. One more time. One more time.
And Lily's going, Hans.
Lily, I'm a scientifically trained person. How do we know that these videos do the same work that I do when I do it myself. I said, I need to have one more chance. And so it happens. We come to Rockford, to the hospital there. We enroll 3,000 people in the CHIP program, people that want to do something and take care of their heart disease and everything else. And what happens next is that the hospital comes and says, we have $1 million available to you from the government to the research that you want to do. Mm-hmm. And the rest is history. 52 scientific papers have been published. Almost close to 100,000 people have gone through a CHIP program. It has become one of the leading, if not the leading, health education, health promotion programs to reversing chronic disease in the world.
That's right.
Do you know, the Bible is very clear. I have it all planned for you. Mm. Mm-hmm. And then Lily comes to me a few years later and she says, no, we're 65 years of age. Do you have a pension plan? Did you set some money aside for the rainy day? It was a rhetorical question because she knew that we had put everything into that ministry lovingly, and we trusted that God promised our future secure. And then, of course, you know, the phone rings again, and there's a company called Sanitarium Health and Wellbeing Company. We're interested in getting a license for your program for Australia and New Zealand. Would you be interested? We negotiate. We said, we're 65 years of age. Why don't you just take it over and take the little child, my baby, and put some new clothes on, put some new videos out, and you take care of it as a large company. And that's the story of CHIP.
And that's where we met you, in the LA airport.
That's right.
On the same flight. You were actually coming to Australia to work it all out with Sanitarium. At that time we met you.
You know,
we were on the same flight.
Yeah. You know, since that time, since we met, and I had just signed the contract with the company, the Australian company, Lily has never asked me again about the pension plan. God takes care of us.
He does, very much so.
I mean, you know that better than anybody else. Because what you do is a ministry of faith and hope and belief, isn't it?
That's right.
We only keep going because we believe that God will supply. Sometimes it's very hairy, and it's a matter of saying, Lord, look, you know the situation.
It's the greatest joy of my life, not just happiness, deep joy to belong to Him.
That's right.
And you know what? It's interesting, you've been talking about Lily and you're celebrating 50 years of marriage, so something must have happened.
Something, yeah, she kept on holding on. I just want to take a time right at this moment to bring up Hans Diehl's address details for you of how you can contact him if you have any questions about health, about lifestyle, and about any of the books that we'll talk about in a minute that he has written. Here is his details.
Dr. Hans Diehl is known worldwide for his extensive knowledge regarding lifestyle medicine and effective strategies for reversing many of the diseases afflicting Western society. If you would like more information, Dr. Diehl has a number of resources available on his website where you may also get in contact with him and see his speaking schedule. Point your web browser to www.hansdiehl.com. That's www.hansdiehl.com. For more information about the complete health improvement program, you may visit the CHIP website. The address is www.chiphealth.com.
I hope you got those details. We'd like you to contact him. You know, it's interesting. We're talking with Dr. Hans Diehl. He began working in a mine to raise money to do a medical program.
He started off with coffee machines.
Yeah, well, and his aim was, you know, interesting to change the attitude of Canada, the people in Canada to drink coffee, the new aroma.
How to drink coffee.
But you've offered something far greater than that. You've given people an opportunity by trusting in God to go out and show them that lifestyle medicine is really crucial for us living in 2019.
And you know what else? It doesn't include coffee.
I like that. And you know, you've mentioned there must be hundreds and thousands of people around the world now that have gone through a CHIP program. And so you've also, I've discovered, written a number of books. And I just thought, and I like the one, your little magazine that Rosemary's holding there. It's called
U-Turn. And it's a summary of the program for change, isn't it?
Yeah, how to turn heart disease around, how to turn obesity around, how to turn arthritis around, how to turn high blood pressure around, how to turn diabetes around.
That's right.
U-turn.
And this is just a simple little book that's a summary of all those different things. Osteoporosis, I just saw in there. Alcohol, things about alcohol that you need to know, things about tobacco. And it's just a neat little book.
What I like about it, Hans,
Cancer.
what you're saying, and the people need to know, you can actually reverse these lifestyle diseases that are really affecting people everywhere. We're having programs in this part of the world for the people in the South Pacific Islands that have diabetes and it's all related to diet.
I want to show
Correct.
this one. This is, if I get in the right place, this is a cookbook. Now, I had a look through this yesterday and I thought, boy, there's some good stuff in here. I want to have a look at trying them. It's a really great CHIP cookbook.
And you don't have to spend all day in the kitchen. This is for busy people. 20 minutes, 25
That's
minutes,
what I like.
your meal is done.
That's what I like. I don't like meals that are going to take ages and you're
Yes.
saying, have I got those ingredients? And you're going to take a long time trying to put them together. That's good.
And there's this last one that I want to just share with you. It's Health Power. It says, healthy by choice, not by chance. How important is that? It's absolutely, it's a choice you make.
Well, how do you use your fork and knife? You see, that's the question. How do you really use fork and knife? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you doing something about your smoking? You know, these are the issues that we need to address. Over 2 million books in 36 languages are out there. People want health. They're looking desperately. They recognize that medicine can only do so much with these kind of diseases.
That's right. Hans Diehl, Dr. Hans Diehl has been our special guest today. I am sure you've enjoyed it. Look for his books on the internet, and we are so glad that we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.